Well, hello. I'm Ryan Parrish for Exacta Shears, and I'm sorry you don't get to see my smiling face today. This pair of scissors, when they were brand new, had an 800 millimeter radius manufactured on them. And what a radius is on a scissor is the curvature on the cutting edge. So if these indeed were an 800 millimeter radius, what that means is the curvature on this blade is the same curvature that would be on a circle that had a mathematical radius from the center to the outside of the circle that was 800 millimeters, or 31.5 inches. The 800 millimeter radius is fairly common on a lot of Japanese scissors. What I want to demonstrate to you today is why you never restore an 800 millimeter radius once it's been removed. And what I did deliberately on these was I straightened both blades. I took the radius off both blades, and then on my thumb blade I came back and I re-established an 800 millimeter radius on this blade. It's very common. You will see a tremendous amount of scissors that were either manufactured with no to little radius, or it has been removed by improper sharpening, and that is just unbelievably common. I've even seen scissors that had an inverted radius, and how they do that I don't really know, but anyhow, you will see a lot of blades that have no radius. So when I get a pair of scissors that's straight like this, if I come back and reestablish an 800 millimeter radius, let me show you what happens. Now, I deliberately did not do both blades so that you could see the change in the length on the blades. When I came back and established the radius on the thumb blade, I actually did remove a tiny bit of tip, but it was so sharp that it was sharper than any ice pick I've ever used. I mean, it was so pointy, so it was dangerous. So I came back and I removed enough metal to make this a little safer, and enough so that the two blades would engage. They did not engage before, and I've already taken the bumper out of here. When the bumper was in there, they did not engage, and they barely engaged when the bumper was in. Had I done a radius reestablished a radius on the straight blade, we would have been taking off a lot more metal, and the tips would not even been coming together as much as they are now. It would probably be more like that. But you can see, even with doing one blade, how much shorter the thumb blade is than the other one. Okay. So how do we fix this? Well, we could do three things. One thing, we could bend the handles. Exacta does not bend handles. We leave that to other guys. So that leaves us two other choices. We trim the bumper or the silencer, or we take off tips. I can guarantee you that had I put a 800 millimeter radius on this other blade, we would be trimming the bumper and we would be taking off a lot of tip in order to get these engaged. So the first thing we do is trim the bumper. Now, these scissors had a screw-in or metal bumper that I've already taken out, and we're going to put a rubber bumper back in so that we can trim it. We really don't want to take any more metal off the tips than what we absolutely have to. So we come in here and we get this started in here. Bring it up to about there. Hold on to that, and you use super glue. Now I'm not actually going to do this, but you put super glue. Make sure it's all coated all around the shaft. You probably want to put a paper towel or something under here to keep it from dripping. Coat it all around the shaft, and then you just pull it in until it's flush. And actually, this would go in a lot easier if it had super glue on it. Actually acts as a little bit of lube. So we pull that flush. You trim the inside last. The reason for that is you want to be able to hold on to this, because until the super glue sets up, sometimes when you trim this down, you can pull it out. So we leave this on so we can hold on to it. It's best to rest this against something. I'm using the honing plate here, and I'm just going to rest that bumper on there so I have something to cut against, and I'm going to pull slightly on this. I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut it down just as short as I possibly can, but still leave a little bit there. I can get a little bit shorter than that. Now, in cases where you've got just your tips are just almost engaging, you wouldn't cut the bump, you would cut it down just enough to get the tips to engage. Okay, so we get that cut, and then we come back and we trim this off. Just take just like this, and there we go. So now we put a new bumper in, we've cut it down. So like I said, had we reestablished an 800 millimeter on the straight blade, I am positive that our blades would still not be engaging. And so what we'd have to do is take off, and I would say definitely we would probably end up taking off a minimum of 1/4 of an inch, and probably more like 3/8 of an inch from the original length of these blades. So now you're going to take these and you're going to give them back to the hairdresser. I was a hairdresser for 34 years. I'm not going to be happy when I see my blunt tips, and I may or may not notice that you've cut my bumper. And what's going to happen is I'm going to notice that. Yeah, you're going to tell me, well, I made them back like new. Well, you didn't make them back like new. When you take metal off, you can't put it back, right? Okay, so you gave me an 800 millimeter radius back. I've got really blunt tips that I'm not going to be happy with, and I've seen tips taken off as 1/2 inch to even as much as 3/4 of an inch from original length. Unbelievable. And not only that, I have also taken off the serviceable life of your scissors probably 15 to 20 sharpenings, and in some cases on some scissors probably actually made them unserviceable. We do not restore a radius, nor would you want to use a machine that does so. We save the scissors. Had I been given these scissors with a straight blade on them, I would have come back and I would have sharpened them just like this. They would have been sharp. No, they would not have been like they came from the manufacturer, but that's because of what somebody else did, not what I did. Had I gotten these scissors when they were brand new and sharpened them normally, they would still have their 800 millimeter radius. They would have their original factory angle. And by the way, since I did this, I did a straight edge and I did a reestablish the radius. The angle is the same all along the blade on both these blades. That's what the Exacta system does. So Exacta saves scissors. We do not restore a radius. We save them for the hairdresser. I'm Ryan Parrish for Exacta Shears, and I will see you in class. Thank you.